What if you could start building wealth even if you don't make a lot of money? What if you are living paycheck to paycheck, paying bills, supporting your family, and wondering how you'll ever have enough money to invest? Maybe you've thought, I don't make enough. I have too much debt. I only have a few dollars left after payday. I'll start investing when I make more money. If that sounds like you, this story is for you, because the Bible has a powerful lesson about what to do when you don't have much. And it isn't about getting rich overnight. It's about learning how to become a wise steward of the little you already have. Let's meet Maria. Maria worked hard. She woke up early, went to work, came home exhausted, cooked dinner, paid the bills, and did it all over again the next day. Her paycheck wasn't terrible, but it wasn't enough to make her feel financially secure either. After rent, groceries, electricity, transportation, and helping her family, there was almost nothing left. Every payday she told herself the same thing. Next month I'll save. But then something happened. The electricity bill was higher. Her car needed repairs. Her mother needed medicine. Her child needed something for school. And just like that, her savings disappeared again. One night, Maria sat at the edge of her bed and opened her banking app. She had only $37 left. She stared at the number. Then she whispered, "How am I ever going to become financially free with this?" Maybe you've asked the same question. How do you build wealth with a low income? How do you invest when you barely have anything left? How do you save money when everything is getting more expensive? Maria didn't have the answers. But the next Sunday, she heard something that changed the way she thought about money. The pastor was teaching about the parable of the talents in Matthew 25. Jesus told the story of a master who entrusted different amounts of money to 3 servants. One received 5 talents, another received 2, and another received 1. They didn't receive the same amount, but each one was responsible for what had been placed in his hands. Maria suddenly thought, maybe I've been looking at this the wrong way. She had spent years thinking about what she didn't have. She didn't have a big salary. She didn't have a large investment account. She didn't have a business. She didn't have thousands of dollars sitting in the bank. But she did have something. A little income, a little time, a few skills, and the ability to make better decisions. Then she remembered Luke 16:10. Whoever is faithful with very little will also be faithful with much. That night, Maria made a decision. She would stop waiting until she had more money to learn how to manage money. She would start with what she had, not with $10,000, not with $1,000, with $10. She began learning about personal finance. She learned the difference between saving and investing. She learned why an emergency fund matters. She learned how high-interest debt can destroy wealth. She learned what stocks, bonds, index funds, and other investments actually were. And most importantly, she learned that investing is not a get-rich-quick scheme. There is no investment that can honestly guarantee that you will become rich quickly. There is always risk. So, Maria created 3 rules. Never invest money I need for food or bills. Never invest in something I don't understand. And never risk my financial future chasing fast money. Then she made her first investment, $10. It wasn't impressive. Nobody would have looked at Maria and said, she's becoming wealthy. But Maria wasn't trying to impress anybody. She was building a habit, and that habit was more valuable than the $10 itself. The following month, she invested another $10, then another. Sometimes she could invest $20, sometimes only $5. And some months she couldn't invest anything, but she kept learning. She also started tracking where her money was going. And that's when she discovered something uncomfortable. Her money wasn't only disappearing because of big bills, it was also disappearing through small decisions, food deliveries, impulse purchases, subscriptions she barely used, little purchases that didn't seem important. $5 here, $10 there, $20 somewhere else. Individually, they didn't look dangerous, but together they were stealing money from her future. So, Maria didn't stop enjoying life. She simply became intentional. Before spending money, she started asking herself, do I really want this? Can I afford this? Is this helping my family? And am I sacrificing my future for something I won't even remember next month? Slowly, her financial life began to change. But Maria discovered another problem. There was only so much she could cut. She couldn't cut her rent in half. She couldn't eliminate groceries. She couldn't stop paying electricity. She realized something important. Saving money matters, but increasing your ability to earn matters too. So, she looked at the skills she already had. Maria loved baking. Her co-workers always complimented her homemade bread. One weekend, she baked 12 loaves and sold them. She made a small profit. The next weekend, she baked 20, then 30. It wasn't a $1 million business. It wasn't glamorous. There was no expensive office, no fancy equipment, just a woman using a skill she already had. And something interesting happened. Her little business started producing extra income. Maria now had another decision to make. What would she do with the extra money? She didn't immediately buy a new phone. She didn't upgrade her lifestyle. She divided the money intentionally. Some went toward giving. Some went toward savings. Some went toward debt. And some went toward investing. She was slowly creating something powerful, a system. Earn, save, give, invest, repeat. Then one afternoon, Maria received a message from an old friend. I found an investment that can double your money in 30 days. Maria's heart started beating faster. Imagine if it were true. She could double her savings, maybe even quit her job someday. But something didn't feel right. The message was full of urgency. Invest today. Limited opportunity. Guaranteed returns. Don't miss out. Maria remembered her rules. Never invest in something I don't understand. So she researched it. The promises were huge. The explanations were vague, and the risk was enormous. She walked away. That decision saved her from losing money, and Maria learned another biblical financial lesson. Proverbs 13:11 says that wealth gained hastily will diminish, while wealth gathered little by little will increase. Little by little. That phrase stayed with her. Because Maria wanted financial freedom. But she didn't need financial freedom tomorrow. She needed to build it wisely. 2 years passed. Maria's investments weren't spectacular, but they were growing. Her emergency fund was growing. Her side business was growing. Her knowledge was growing. And most importantly, her discipline was growing. Then one evening, Maria checked her accounts. For the first time, her savings and investments had crossed $1,000. She stared at the screen. $1,000. To someone else, it might not have seemed like much, but Maria knew what it represented. She remembered the $37. She remembered the first $10. She remembered every time she wanted to spend money but chose to save. Every time she wanted to give up but continued. Every time she learned instead of making an emotional financial decision. The $1,000 wasn't just money. It was evidence that small decisions can become something bigger when repeated consistently. And now, Maria faced another important decision. She still had credit card debt. The interest was high. She realized that continuing to invest aggressively while carrying expensive debt didn't make sense for her situation. So, she kept a small emergency reserve. She continued learning. She maintained a basic investing habit, but she attacked the high-interest debt, month after month, payment after payment, until one morning. The balance was zero. Maria looked at the screen. Zero. For the first time in years, she wasn't thinking about what she owed. She was thinking about what she could build. And this is where her story becomes important for you. Because maybe you're listening right now and thinking, that's easy for her. But I don't even have $100. How can I invest when I have debt? I only earn minimum wage. My paycheck is already gone before the month ends. I have children. I support my parents. I live in an expensive city. I don't have extra money. If that's you, listen carefully. You don't have to copy Maria's exact numbers, and you don't have to invest money you cannot afford to lose. Your first financial goal may not be investing. It may be stopping the financial leaks. It may be building a small emergency fund. It may be paying off high-interest debt. It may be learning a skill that can increase your income. It may be starting a tiny side business. And when you finally have money available for investing, start with an amount you understand and can afford. The amount matters, but the habit matters too. And if this story is speaking to you, take a moment to do something. Comment below, I will start small. Not because writing a comment will make you wealthy, but because sometimes a public commitment helps you take the first step. And here's something even more important. Don't compare your beginning with someone else's middle. You might see someone online showing a $100,000 investment account. You might see someone talking about making thousands of dollars in the stock market. You might see someone buying real estate, and you might think, I'll never get there. But you don't know where they started, and you don't know their circumstances. Your responsibility is not to manage someone else's money. Your responsibility is to become a wise steward of what God has placed in your hands. Remember the parable of the talents. The master didn't give everyone the same amount, but he expected faithfulness. That means your journey may look different. Maybe you start with $10. Maybe you start with $50. Maybe your first step is simply creating a budget. Maybe your first investment is an education. Maybe your first financial victory is paying off one credit card. Maybe your first asset is a small business. Don't despise small beginnings. Because wealth is rarely created by one dramatic financial decision. It is often built through hundreds of small decisions repeated over many years. Earn more, spend wisely, save consistently, invest carefully, avoid destructive debt, protect your money, give generously, and seek wisdom. Maria eventually became financially comfortable. But she never forgot where she started. She kept her old notebook. On the first page were 3 words: start with little. Years later, Anna, a young woman she mentored, told Maria, I want to invest, but I only have $20. Maria smiled. She opened the notebook and showed her the first investment, $10. Anna looked surprised. You started with only $10? Maria nodded. But $10 didn't make me wealthy. Anna asked, then what did? Maria smiled. The habits I built when I only had $10. That is the lesson. Your first investment may not change your life. Your first $10 may not make you rich. Your first savings account may look tiny. Your first business may make only a few dollars. But those small beginnings can teach you something priceless. Discipline, patience, stewardship, wisdom, and consistency. The goal isn't to become rich overnight. The goal is to become financially wise. Because when you learn how to manage little, you become better prepared to manage more. So, don't wait until you have a high income. Don't wait until you're debt-free to learn about money. Don't wait until you have thousands of dollars before becoming a wise steward. Start where you are. Use what you have. Learn, work, save, give. Invest wisely when you are financially ready. And let time and consistency work in your favor. Because you don't have to start rich. You just have to start wisely. And perhaps the seed of your financial freedom isn't somewhere out there. Perhaps it is already in your hands. If this message helped you see money differently, subscribe to Wealth Through Wisdom. Here we explore money, investing, debt, financial freedom, and wealth building through the wisdom of the Bible. Because true wealth isn't just about having more money. It's about having the wisdom to manage what God has entrusted to you. And remember, be faithful with little. Grow with wisdom. Build with patience. And never underestimate what God can do with something that starts small.